The first slide you'll see Jefferson was a very complex individual. He wrote the following words in the Declaration of Independence: all men are created equal. Yet in his notes on Virginia, he referred to black slaves as inferior to whites, which absolutely contradicted what he wrote in the Declaration of Independence for the entire country. Jefferson was a founding father of the United States. He was a governor of the state of Virginia, a diplomat to France, the Secretary of State of the United States, the Vice President, and lastly, the President of the United States. His talents were endless. He was a statesman, a lawyer, an architect, a planter, and what he was proudest of, the founder of the University of Virginia. Yet, with all this, Jefferson was still a slaveholder, and he had several hundred slaves working on his plantation. He designed his own home and that of the slaves on a plantation. And you can see the comparison in this slide between the size of his home and what he allowed his slaves to live in. Significantly smaller. It has been said that Jefferson fathered 6 children by Sally Hemings, 4 of which lived to the majority, over age 21. Upon his death, Jefferson had freed only 5 of his slaves, the 4 surviving Hemings children, and a cook at his home in Monticello, Joseph Fawcett. Sally Hemings was believed to have been fathered by Jefferson's father-in-law, thus making Sally Hemings and Jefferson's wife half-sisters. Jefferson left Sally, upon his death, indentured to his daughter Martha, who was believed to be Sally's half-niece. Sally was later freed by Martha. Sally Hemings had accompanied Jefferson to France as part of his entourage. It was at this time she gave birth to the first of the 6 purported Jefferson children. Historians have discussed and do believe that Jefferson told her he would free their children if she returned to Virginia with him, though there is no historic proof of this fact. The later actions of Thomas Jefferson seem to bear out this agreement. The agreement would have been necessary since France had outlawed slavery, and all American slaves taken there would automatically become free by French law. Joseph Fawcett, who also accompanied Jefferson as part of his entourage, was taught to cook by great French chefs, and upon Jefferson's death, he was also freed. It is known, though, he did work a deal with Jefferson for that very freedom. He would not come back to Monticello and cook as a chef unless he was guaranteed his freedom later. You can see the top 2 illustrations of the Jeffersons' graveyard. The gate on the right and the obelisk behind the gate is Thomas Jefferson's grave marker. On the left, you can see the manicured lawns and all the other gravestones. Now compare that to the grave markers just beyond the split rail fence on the bottom photograph, and you'll see there's nothing there but barren ground. That was the slave graveyard. There were no markings, and it is still being excavated to determine who was where, as the Monticello.org corporation does not really know yet. Should we judge Thomas Jefferson, an 18th century man who held many enlightened ideas by 20th century standards? Is that fair? He wrote anti-slavery passages in the Declaration of Independence, which were struck down by the Congress because they didn't feel the southern states would pass the Declaration if they were in there. Did he, by giving into the political reality of his times and later writing to defend that reality in his notes on the state of Virginia, diminish him in any way or show his true deep-seated beliefs? No, Jefferson was an individual who was brighter than most and a realist of what was possible at a given moment in time. As President Kennedy once said about him when he hosted a Nobel dinner for all the American Nobel Prize winners, this room never had so much brilliance in it, unless on the date Jefferson dined alone. So you know how other presidents have felt about Thomas Jefferson. This concludes my presentation. A lot of it came out of our textbook, The Literature of the American South, but much of the information from the slavery aspect of it came from the docent at Monticello in a personal interview, David Thorsten, when I went to visit there this summer. I thank you for your time. Have a good day.